A very good evening and a warm welcome to our first weekend edition of To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary and I take great pleasure in introducing to you viewers our guest anchor for this weekend edition. Very often you see them sitting right here next to me in the studio taking questions. Very often you see them point fingers at us for being unfair, for targeting them, not giving them enough time to put their point across. It's not an easy job to be an unbiased fair anchor. So what we decided right here is why not have those in the anchor's hot seat to do the questioning, who usually are doing all the answering. Maybe then hopefully they'll appreciate a tad bit more. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you our first guest anchor on To The Point this weekend edition, Mr. Jayant Sinha, MoS Civil Aviation and an avid economist.
Jayant Sinha is the Minister of State for Civil Aviation, a member of Indian Parliament and formerly the Minister of State for Finance. He has also been an investment fund manager and management consultant. In 2014, Sinha was elected to the Lok Sabha, representing the BJP from Hazaribagh, Jharkhand. On the launch episode of To The Point, guest anchor weekend special, Jayant Sinha moderates a panel on jobs.
भाइयों बहनों, आज देश के नौजवानों को रोजगार मिले, हमने स्किल डेवलपमेंट का अभियान चलाया है.
This was Prime Minister Modi's promise 4 years ago during his election campaign.
कि हमारे नौजवानों को रोजगार मिले और किसी भी नौजवान को सरकार के पास हाथ फैलाने की नौबत नहीं आनी चाहिए.
And this promise helped Prime Minister Modi win in a country of 18 million unemployed youth. But 4 years later, data suggests that Indians are still waiting for these promised jobs. The government, however, denies a bleak outlook.
रिफॉर्म शब्द छोटा है, सुधार शब्द छोटा है, आमूल चूर परिवर्तन की देश को जरूरत है और हम डरे बगैर, मत बैंक की चिंता करे बगैर उस दिशा में आगे बढ़े.
And then came the pakoda politics.
हाँ, मैं मानता हूं कि बेरोजगारी से तो अच्छा है कि कोई युवा मजदूरी कर मेहनत कर पकोड़ा
कि पकोड़ा तलने क्या, हम जलेबी तलेंगे, हम समोसे बनाएंगे. स्किल इंडिया में ये काम रखवा दीजिए कि जो पढ़े बेरोजगार घर बैठे हैं, MA, MBA, इंजीनियरिंग जो पढ़े हैं, उनको हम जरूर ये करना चाहिए.
What is the reality? Watch the special episode anchored by Union Minister and an esteemed panel on jobs and the economy.
Hello and welcome to a special show where I will be playing guest anchor. But before I get started, I want to start with a solemn promise that I will be neutral and non-partisan on the anchor seat. And of course, the topic that we will take up for discussion today is going to be job creation and employment, a matter that is of great interest and importance to every young person in the country and of course their parents. Now, before we begin the debate and before I introduce the guest to you, let me make it very clear that as far as this debate is concerned, we are going to follow two very important ground rules. First, we want this to be a discussion that is based on logic, reason and fact. And second, that we will be civilized in our discussion, and so we will give everyone an opportunity to finish what they're saying without any interruptions. And I hope that will be the rule that everybody on this panel will follow. Now, we are very fortunate this evening to have some very accomplished people joining us. We have Shri Dr. Syed Zafar Islam, who is a spokesperson for the BJP. We have Professor Arun Kumar from the JNU. We have Shri Atul Anjan, who is General Secretary of the CPI. And we have Shri Sanjay Jha, who is a spokesperson for the Congress. So these are the distinguished guests that we have with us. And I'd like to start with Zafar ji. And Zafar ji, could you give us your sense of how the employment situation in the country looks right now? Is it a positive picture or is it not such a positive picture?
Well, the employment picture, as you rightly asked, is looking very, very promising and very positive. First of all, I must tell you that some of the political parties are unnecessarily spreading lies, because all the away from their or the statement they are making, the way they are misleading the people, the indicators, all the economic indicators, all the other indicators suggest that enough job have been created, enough job is being created, enough economic activity is there in the system. Let me give you some example. People were talking a few months ago that there is no GDP is growing without job creation. Now there is a Naukri.com that suggests that there is a 10% growth. It was a negative growth in 2017. Now there is 10% positive growth. So you have seen that 20% growth from the level of 2017. Likewise, if you see people are talking about export sector, export is at all-time peak. If you see all the other thing, whether it's a heavy vehicle sale, whether it's a medium vehicle sale, whether it's a car sale, whether it's a cement production, cement demand. So everywhere there is a lot of demand. That suggests that there is a lot of economic activity, and it cannot happen unless there is a job creation. So people are spreading lies, the political parties are spreading lies, even though EPFO number suggests that 70 lakh new job have been created. In private sector, if you see that because of NPA, the investments were private sector investments are not happening. Credit was not growing. Now credit is growing at 11% from 4% low of 2014. So a lot of things are happening, and there is a lot of growth momentum, and as a result, there is a lot of job creation.
I'd ask you to make your comments brief, because we have limited time. We want everybody to get a chance. I just want to make one quick point, which is that if you look at India's workforce, it is about 50 crore people. And of those 50 crore people, about 22 to 23 crore people are working in agriculture. About 27 to 28 crore people are actually working in the non-farm sector. What we really want to focus on today is job creation and employment prospects in the non-farm sector, which is about 27 to 28 crore people. Professor Arun Kumar, you've studied this very closely. What is your sense of how things are going? And keep your remarks brief.
Okay, so the Indian economy consists predominantly of the unorganized sector, which has 97% of the employment, and the balance 7% is in the organized sector. Now the problem really is coming from the unorganized sector, where the unorganized sector got hit, and one of the indicators of that is the demand for employment under Manrega shot up. The second is that all the surveys that have come, whether it's All India Manufacturers Organization, whether State Bank of India, they've shown that the unorganized sector has really declined dramatically after demonetization, after GST and so on. Unfortunately, that's not reflected in the data that's put out officially, because these surveys, quinquennial surveys on employment, come after 5 years, and so similarly the output figures come after 3 years. So in other words, the economy is not as rosy if you look at the unorganized sector and the unemployment that's created there. Second problem is that technology today is the big disruptor. So in the organized sector, where 80% of the investment is going, there actually unemployment is being generated because it's displacing labor. So even though some jobs are created, but more jobs are getting displaced there. So in other words, youth today is protesting, whether you see in UP in 2015, where there were 380 jobs of peons, 23 lakh people applied, whether railways, where 90,000 jobs came and about 25 million people applied. This is suggesting that the unorganized sector is facing a huge crisis of unemployment, and that is what we need to address very centrally.
So Professor Arun Kumar, you are posing a paradox relative to what Zafarji said, because you are saying that in the unorganized sector things are quite grim. On the other hand, what Zafarji is saying is that if you look at consumption is strong across the board, whether you look at the organized sector or the unorganized sector. Atul Anjanji, what is your view on this contradiction that has been posed by the two earlier speakers?
Mr. Jayantji, at the very outset, I just congratulate you that you are anchoring such a very important issue, and which is a very pivotal issue for the Indian situation at present. But I am not speaking from the point of arrogance, because I don't think that I should speak that I am speaking a lie. One can say that one is not near the truth or near the reality, but one cannot be declared the liar, because liar is a very cheap word, and I don't want to use the cheap word. But at the same time, I just want to say, in the present day, if the government's tall claims, if you see what is really happening, prices are under control. If the GDP is reflecting the question of the employment, there is too much foreign direct investment FDIs, how many new entrepreneurs have come up, how many new factories have come up, how many new structures have come up, and where the new young people are getting the job, and what is the situation in the Indian economy, where the FIIs stand, and all these, you see, unfortunately, all the tall claims of the government and the different agencies. And I say this why that these are now the questions, and the answer, it has converted itself into a tragedy, a debris of tragedy and confusion. And I think it is the people who are standing on the lower rungs of the economic and social ladder, have they gone up? More than 40 crore people are not getting 2 times square meal. Leave this all that. This is more and more, you see, if you see the Planning Commission or Niti Aayog's reports, what they say on the question of who is below poverty line, who is above the poverty line, what is happening in the Manrega field, how many jobs have been generated, how the money is pumping there, because at the very outset, Prime Minister at in the Parliament in Lok Sabha, he foo-fooed the Manrega, and now the whole just governments, you see, whatever the gains are there, that they are saying because of the Manrega, this much of the job creation has taken place.
Thank you, Atulji. Thank you, Atulji. We've got to give. Thank you, Atulji. We have to give everybody a chance. I'd now like to turn to Sanjay ji. What do you believe? Do you agree with Atulji, or do you have additional points you'd like to make?
You know, Jayant, firstly, I think you're doing a brilliant job as an anchor, and I would like it if you call me Sanjay. Let's keep it extremely informal. You know, this is a very, very serious and a gigantic problem. I think the job crisis is a hard economic reality. Let's not try and, you know, lose it in political, you know, kind of point scoring. What are the facts? And I'll go by data. The Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, the CMI, highly respected, dispassionate entity, has pointed out that India in February of this year, 2018, the unemployment numbers amongst the youth of India is 300 lakh people. That's a staggering number, and I think that should be a cause not just of economic concern, but it has serious social consequences if the demographic dividend of India is actually going to have nothing to do. I think this is a serious problem. I mean, the second data, again, extremely worrying, is following what happened when Mr. Modi did demonetization. I think Mr. Kumar rightly said it disrupted the informal economy. You are a very seasoned analyst yourself. I think end of day, when you disrupt the rural economy or the data not being captured in official statistics because it takes time, end of day, you know, you can't even imagine how serious that distress has actually been. And my third point, I mean, since I think Zafar mentioned about EPFO, let me tell you, that data again is hugely suspicious. And I'll give you just one number, Jayant, that if you go by that number, India's payroll stock is around 919 lakh employees who are in the formal sector. And 70 lakh happened in just 1 year. So we are saying that in 70 years, we did 919 lakhs. In 1 year, we grew it by 7.5% at a time when India's GDP actually went down. So that to me is irrational economics. But I think end of day, the last line. You see, the problem is that end of day, the GDP may still be above 7%, but a private capital investment or the rate of investment as a function of GDP is actually falling down. So I think the macroeconomic concerns in jobs are extremely serious. And I feel this government has been largely myopic, and now you have faced a problem that is really ballooning out of proportion.
So Sanjay, what would your government do differently?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Jayant. You know, the key focus here ought to be, in our opinion, is to focus on those entities like the MSME sector and give them the biggest boost that you can. I mean, we all know the small ancillaries, small entrepreneurs. You know, the credit optic number that Zafar said, it's not been good for the MSME sector. It's actually gone down. And, you know, post GST, I think GST is a great indirect tax reform. I think we all know that. Its execution was so shabby and shoddy that it actually has become a negative, at least I think the short to medium term. So I hope that that impact will possibly wither away. The demonetization, I believe, has been quite hard. But bottom line, I think you need to look at that sector, but at the end of the day, even they are also dependent upon the larger corporate investment that will happen. The second thing that we would do is to definitely look at more absorption of labor-intensive technologies in the rural hinterland. To say that people from the rural part of India will migrate to the cities and get jobs, I think that's not the real solution alone. Yes, that is the way forward for any economy to develop.
Well, thank you, Sanjay ji. We have to give everybody a chance. And of course, I'm not responding since I am playing anchor. So I won't respond to that. In fact, I'll ask Zafar ji now to tell us what you think the government's policies have done or not done.
Well, if you analyze government's performance and the policy initiative in the last 4 years, you see that the government in 2014, when they left UPA, that every macroeconomic parameters was in terrible shape. And today, economy is in very sound footing, purely because the structural reform which has been undertaken by the government of India is paying the dividend today. And all the, whether it's GST, rolling out GST or demonetization, it was a very, very important structural reforms, and it has definitely a short-term aberration was there in growth. But that is a short-term aberration. But if you see that there is a exponential growth subsequent to rolling out of GST as well as post-demonetization, and the informal economy is slowly becoming part of formal economy, and that will definitely, that is why you see EPFO number is improving, and you will see that going forward you will see much more improved numbers going forward, purely because informal economy is rolling out into formal economy, and that's why a lot of formal job is being also created. Away from that, whatever the allegation made by the two political parties, if they need to analyze that in terms of rural infrastructure, the way they were giving doles under Manrega, we were definitely criticized. We criticized the Manrega scheme because you were never using the Manrega scheme and the commitment you were making for the growth. We have changed the scheme, Manrega scheme, and we are using to create physical infrastructure and creating the rural economy.
Now let's ask
and
Professor,
developing the rural economy, and that is
Zafarji, let's ask Professor Arun Kumar, who after all teaches at JNU. Would you give a good grade to the work that our government has been doing?
Well, government has announced many schemes. However, the impact has not been felt on the ground because, as I said, there have been two breaks, very important breaks. One was the demonetization, the other was the GST, and both hurt the unorganized sector. And that's where 93% of the employment is. And if you hurt 93% of the employment, you will be in trouble. So my suggestion would be that we need to focus on the rural infrastructure very importantly, because that's where large number of people are migrating to urban areas and creating unemployment there. Second is health and education, which are employment generating. Those need to be taken care of. The big infrastructure like roads, etc., now they don't create many jobs. So therefore, that investment there is not likely to get you too many new jobs. Of course, infrastructure is necessary. You need to invest there. Private sector investment needs to be revived because there's a twin balance sheet problem. One is the infrastructure companies face a deficit. The other is the banks face a deficit. And therefore, this twin balance sheet problem also needs to be taken care of. And that's not coming under control because NPAs seem to be continuously rising rather than declining. So in a sense, what you need is a multi-pronged approach in the budget and outside the budget, in the RBI through the monetary policy before you can deal with the problem.
Thank you very much, Professor Arun Kumar. We will have to end our program here this evening. We've had a fascinating discussion about a matter that is of great importance and great urgency for our young country, which is employment and job creation. Thank you to all my guests. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.